Hello and welcome Fleet LATAM conference attendees. I'm very, very thrilled and honored to be chatting with you here today, particularly as part of the thought leadership session. So hopefully you get to learn a few things about the connected video space for commercial fleets and how we solve some key problems that you might see within your own fleets. First off, I do want to say I trust and hope that all your families and friends are doing well from wherever you are. Crazy times that we're in right now, but we're really excited to, at some point in the future, be there with you all in person and be able to share some of the learnings and insights that we've had with you live. But all that being said, this is really kudos to the Fleet LATAM conference group for putting this virtual session together. Everything's been really amazing and teed up really well for you all to consume some really valuable content for your teams. All right, so a little bit about me. So my name is Adam McCarty. I've been at Lytx for about 13 years. So when I started here, we had about 80 employees, maybe 10,000 connected vehicles talking to our service. Now we have about 800 employees and over 700,000 vehicles that are sending us data, connecting with us every single night. So really incredible progress has been made the last 15, 20 years for our team and our business. We're really excited to be now focusing the last year and a half on expanding down to Latin America. So we've had some business in the UK for a while, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, North America, and we're really excited about the LATAM market and what connected video technology can do for you all in your businesses and your geographies. If I just think a little bit back about how Lytx got started and where we came from, we really sought out to solve the problem of how to make video an efficient, proactive tool. So if you think about, say you have 50 vehicles in your fleet and they drive 10 hours a day, that's 500 hours of video that you have to figure out some way to consume and get something meaningful out of that. And so what I'll talk to you about today is kind of how we accomplish that, some of the valued benefits that can bring and where we see this space going. So just to recap, what I do hope you learn today is kind of why video is one of those fastest growing industries in the world. So as far as vehicle technology goes, we are seeing massive need for video technology all around the world. Definitely picking up in the Americas, and we're seeing a lot of traction also in Europe. But we'll talk to you a little bit about how we see this market evolving. So it started with kind of accelerometer video and data and how it's moving to much more sophisticated technology sitting on the devices. We'll also talk about why data and innovative machine vision matters. So why does it matter if you can buy any kind of camera that might say they do machine vision and artificial intelligence? Well, what are some of the differentiators you might want to be looking for? We'll talk about how video can help reduce risk on the road and some of the best practices you can put in place with respect to proactively reducing risk instead of reactively. And then we'll talk about some final takeaways at the end. So, how we got started is traditional telematics really only gives you a small piece of the puzzle, right? If you're kind of trying to feel around for the elephant, you're grabbing onto like a leg with telematics. Video really gives you that full picture, so you can see what's going on holistically, not just with an incident, but also within your fleet, within your drivers, within your region, within your global fleet, if that's the case. So telematics is great at kind of looking at fleet efficiency, driver productivity, fuel efficiency, maintenance. Incredible tool for innovation. But what I believe the market is seeing now is a need to go beyond telematics from a safety perspective. What video does is it really gives you not just visibility like dots on a map like telematics, but actual true visibility into that driver's perspective. So it allows you to see what the driver sees, it allows you to see what the driver's doing. It gives you kind of that onboard coach and assist almost for the driver for you to be able to see and coach that driver to improve their behaviors and really see things from their point of view. So telematics kind of gives you hard braking data, but drivers can always talk around that. They can say, well, somebody cut me off or an animal ran out in front of me, I just slammed on the brakes. You can get all these hard stops and hard accelerations and turns and this accelerometer data, but it's very difficult to figure out just exactly what to do with that and how to manage it without video. I think it's becoming evident now. So you see, what are some of the kind of biggest features and motivators to equip fleets with telematics connectivity solutions? You can see the top two are obvious in the telematics space. So improving efficiency, productivity, reducing fleet costs, being more optimized with your fleet and your operation. Clear-cut examples of really, really good telematics use cases. But the next two below that, number 3 and 4, really start to delve into something more than just black box telematics, really wanting video integrated and connected with their telematics. So being able to improve or to locate vehicles and improve vehicle security and to improve driver safety and behavior. Really compelling use cases for deploying video within the fleet, versus depending just on that black box technology. And talking to a lot of fleets that maybe leveraged telematics before and then introduce video, it's incredibly eye-opening. It's like you're kind of flying blind before, and now you can literally see what's actually going on in the operation in the field from the driver's perspective and point of view. So a little bit of how the technology works. So this is an example of a video. It's pretty common for us, and you'll see just what actually happened in this particular incident. So you can see driver driving along. You'll actually see that we blurred out the driver's face and logos for privacy reasons, picks up the cell phone, and boom, runs right into a vehicle. And we see this all the time within our base of 700,000 connected vehicles. So this is, in a normal situation, if you didn't have video, you wouldn't necessarily have this. I think you would probably know your driver's at fault, but you wouldn't necessarily know that there was a behavior tied to it. This kind of helps you understand that texting and cell phone use was the key cause to that incident. The other, probably more obvious use case, which a lot of people are focused on, it's very low-hanging fruit, is the exoneration side of things. So you can also protect your drivers from false and fraudulent claims. In this case, you'll see our driver is passing on the left. Not always a good idea with heavy vehicles, but still goes to pass on the left. He gets kind of sandwiched between the other vehicle and the median, ends up running up on the median, and then the front vehicle actually leaves the scene. So that was the backstory that happened afterwards. And using this video, they were able to locate that driver, locate that company, and get them to obviously pay this claim. So really compelling use cases for video, not just reactively like this case for protection, but also proactively to understand what actually happened in an incident. Insurance companies are big fans of the video space because instead of trying to figure out what happened and spending weeks, months, years just trying to understand a situation, they can just go back to this video and see exactly what happened. But that's really only part of the story, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about some of the other benefits and use cases. So what we find with nearly every fleet that implements video is there's some kind of use case that comes up that they didn't even realize. So theft of company items and cash, kidnappings, theft of personal items, total theft of the vehicle, illicit tolls, booths, and then fuel theft. That's just to name a few. We find all sorts of things that end up happening. There's some waste companies that like to be able to see if the waste bin is overflowing so they can maybe upcharge, or if you're trying to deliver a package and something is locked. I mean, it just gives you the ability to provide evidence and see exactly what the driver is going through and exactly what they are seeing. It's really the next best thing of having a body camera on your drivers. At least you're now managing and monitoring your most precious, valuable asset, which is those goods that you're delivering on behalf of your customer or that service that you're providing. So I talked about kind of this reactive use case of video. It's great for exonerations. It's great for understanding what happened in an incident, but there's a lot more to it. So for every one major collision that happens, you have 29 minor collisions and then 300 near misses and 3,000 high-risk behaviors, and then on your way down the pyramids of 300,000 risky behaviors. So what most fleet managers and fleet operations and safety leaders have to do is they're really always looking back in time, and you're always asking yourself, how many accidents did I have over this period of time? Well, with video, you're actually able to look at how many accidents am I going to have? What are my ticking time bomb drivers? What are the behaviors that I need to address across my maybe site or entire global fleet that I need to address to actually limit my claims and cost exposure? So historically, most fleets kind of stay at the top of that pyramid if you don't have video. To get down to those minor collisions and near misses, we started off using accelerometer data. So the 29 and 300, early on, we would provide video to our customers, and there would be these accelerometer, like the hard braking, the hard swerving, the stuff that you see in telematics data. We would actually review that video. So we would spend hours and hours watching all of these 12-second clips of video and labeling it for our customers. So that was really how we got started 15, 20 years ago. And that's kind of old technology at this point, but still very useful for determining risk. Then we started using GPS and ECM to turn on advanced driver alert systems. So we'd be able to now use ADAS to vision technology to look at what the driver is seeing and see if they're deviating out of their lane. Is there a hard brake? Is there a following distance issue, a critical distance issue? Then we started using more data signals to detect risk that the driver was maybe seeing or not seeing. Then we kept working down. We said, okay, well, that's not good enough. That only gives you, doesn't really tell you, that tells you what is going on in the front of the vehicle, but it doesn't tell you what is actually going on with the driver in real time. So then what we decided to do is to look at machine vision, artificial intelligence to be able to continuously monitor the driver's behavior. So instead of using like accelerometer data to identify a risky moment in time, we are now measuring the behaviors exhibited on an entire trip. So if you had one of your, say, 50 drivers that went out driving, we would be able to tell you 10% of their time was spent texting, 30% of their time was spent smoking, and maybe they're driving something that's flammable, so you don't want them doing that. 100% of their time was spent without being belted. So we're now able to provide you so many more insights and data, and then you can go look at the video for evidence of these behaviors. Now imagine that across 50 drivers, 100 drivers, 500 drivers. We're now able to make video so much more consumable for you, the fleet operator, the safety team, the drivers, managers, senior management executive team. You're now able to roll all of your hours and hours and hours or thousands of hours of video up into metadata to be able to then dive in and address certain behaviors and deliver certain outcomes within your fleet operation. So incredibly powerful technology. And how we did this, a lot of technology companies will look at calculations. So they'll picture your head in a box and they'll look at, is it looking down for 3 seconds, or how are the eyes moving? And they try to turn it into an algebra equation, a really complicated algebra equation. And what we found is that that's incredibly ineffective, inefficient. It gives you a lot of false positives. And what you don't want to do is to have drivers driving around and we're beeping at them and they're really not doing anything that's that risky. So we set out to really change that. And what we do is we leverage all of that video that we put human eyes on every single week, every single month. We leverage that into machine learning technology to deliver machine vision and artificial intelligence that sits on the device. So we review 5-6 million events, video events every single month. We know what risk looks like, and we actually teach the device and the technology sitting on the camera to understand what those behaviors look like. We're not looking for objects, as I'll show you in the next sample clip. We're looking for the driver's actual behavior, and the algorithms are trained based on that, not based on trying to pick up objects and do math calculations. So if you look on the left, we're actually able to differentiate between these two types of conditions. So we have kind of an inattentive, drowsy driver on the left, which you kind of see the head nodding, looks very similar to the exact same driver and that behavior on the right, where he's frequently nodding his head, but in this case, he's actually looking at a cell phone. On the left, you'll see the head kind of bobs down and snaps right back up. On the right, you'll see kind of these more constant, intentional glances down at the phone. In many cases, we don't even see the phone, yet our device knows what this behavior looks like. So we know this looks like a cell phone type of an event. So really, really compelling behavior to be able to differentiate between these two at the end of the day, this is a very, very high risk driver and somebody that you absolutely want to pull off the road. But you would want to know, hey, of this 4-hour trip, was he spending 1 hour dozing off at the wheel and 4 hours constantly texting? Or, you want to be able to differentiate between these different behaviors, which we are really in the best position to be able to do that because of our legacy of analyzing and reviewing so much video on behalf of our customers over the last 20 years. So I talked a little bit about metadata. How does all of this stuff start to roll up? So we're actually now able to, or for years, we've been able to kind of provide insights to our customers as to what is causing accidents. So now imagine you can do the same thing, but for your business. This is looking globally across all of our customers. 72% of near collisions resulted from failing to keep an out. So this is more classic defensive driver training. 72% of drivers were also unbelted. So your high-risk drivers also take on high-risk behaviors for themselves by being unbelted. We've found that to be true for 2 decades. Drivers that tend to take more risks on the road take similar risks for themselves and tend to not be belted. Intersection awareness, 61%. Late response, so that's a classic one. Not giving yourself enough time and then maybe being distracted and not being able to look up to avoid an incident. You can read this on and on. Aggressive behavior, mirror use, falling asleep, drowsy. Actually, those fall on the lower end. They happen less frequently, but they end up in some very, very serious incidents. So now this is the same kind of type of data that you can now roll up for your fleet of 50, 100, 1,000, 5,000 vehicles. Lytx has fleets of 25,000, 30,000, 35,000 global fleets of that size that have rolled out this technology. And the value is not having to sift through all of this data and all of this video. The technology really runs that for them. So just some final takeaways. Video can bring visibility into what's actually happening in your fleet. Telematics, absolutely phenomenal technology, but video combined with telematics is incredibly compelling for fleets like fleet owners like yourselves. Distracted driving comes in a lot of different forms. It's important to address these with your drivers. We know that technology by itself doesn't do anything. It really takes you all reinforcing this technology and the safety culture that you have in place. It's really takes all of that to be able to drive down these risky behaviors and have a massive impact. There's some simple and easy steps to curb distracted driving. So we know that putting technology in your vehicles like telematics goes pretty far, but having video combined with that is incredibly compelling. So you can curb distracted driving, all sorts of risk. We can now start to monitor and observe in your fleet and empower you to make that change. Machine vision and AI, incredibly compelling technology, but you have to make sure you do it right. You do not want to be beeping at your drivers when there's not really something going on. So that technology not tuned correctly or not based on millions of events and billions of miles of driving, it can do more damage than good because your drivers just start to hate the technology and maybe start to tamper with it and want to throw it out. Machine vision AI can help detect patterns of risky driving before there's an incident. I can't stress this enough, the value and power of predicting accidents before they happen. Incredibly important for many of our customers who really embrace and love this technology. And again, it's evolving. So we are continuously improving and making this technology even better. And we're really excited about where we can take this in the future. But you have to be kind of that thought leader and that innovator in this space. You have to spend all your time just thinking about how do I manage and consume video, which is what we do on behalf of our customers. So as I mentioned before, we've been focusing on expanding into Latin America. We're really excited about the opportunity. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out to Fernando Ferreira, and just want to say thank you so much again for taking the time, and good luck to all of you in the future.